Buck, always a pleasure. Happy holidays and a whole bit. All right, the
Thanks,
Blue
Chris.
Jays, lot to build on. Good to have you aboard here, Buck, as usual. Lot to build on. Excellent season for them. Listen, they losing to Tampa. That's not the worst thing. Something to think about and build upon as far as 2021 is concerned. Let's look at the conclusion of last year first. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think they had a real good, positive season, Chris, considering everything they had to deal with. Everybody had to deal with the virus, but the Blue Jays didn't know where they were going to play, and they ended up playing in Buffalo, and I think it worked out very well for them. But when you have guys like Vladdy and Bo, you've got some young players. Bo's 22, Vladdy's 21, and you've got Biggio, Grichuk, Gurriel, and Teoscar, who really had a breakout season last year. I think the foundation is there for a pretty good team in the long haul, and I think that's the one thing that Russ Atkins is very upbeat about, is there's a good building block and a good foundation with this young team.
All right, now, where do you think, the Raptors are going to be in Tampa for a good half a season at least. I would assume that probably, I know it's awfully early to say this, I don't think the whole year, but I would assume they will start the season in Buffalo.
Chris, I don't think anybody really knows. Toronto's just been shut down again for another month, and they've really shut down everything tight. So I think it's far too early to speculate. I think the biggest thing now is just, in baseball in general, wants to get to spring training, and I think that'll be the first step back to normalcy. And then hopefully the Blue Jays will be able to play in Toronto again, and hopefully everything will be back to normal in 2021. But I think it's far too early to speculate where the Blue Jays might be playing early in the season.
Do you think that it affects their acquisition scenario with free agents, with the free agent not knowing where he's going to start his season and his new contract? Do you think that's a factor here at all or no?
Absolutely, it is. Toronto is one of the best places to play when everything is normal. When the Blue Jays are good, obviously they're playing for an entire country. And anybody that has come there reluctantly falls in love with the place once they get there. Mark Burley's a great example. He didn't like it at all when he was traded to Toronto. Within weeks, he was recruiting people to come to Toronto. It's a great baseball venue. There's no question about it. But I think with the uncertainty of where they're going to play, at least in the short term, I think, a 1 or 2 year contract for a free agent might be questionable. But if you extend it and sign somebody to 4 or 5 years, then I think it's a different story, because eventually there's no doubt the Blue Jays are going to get back to Toronto and Rogers Center.
Do you think that the Blue Jays are a player or two away of being, pennant contenders in 2021? Or do you still think they're probably a year or two away from having a chance to win the division and then go deep in the postseason? How close do you think this team is right now, Buck?
Well, I think there are several areas where they have to improve. And I think first and foremost, they have to improve their defense. Offensively, the outfield performed very well with Gurriel, Grichuk, and Hernandez, and they put up some big numbers. They hit home runs, they drove in runs, they hit for a good average. But defensively, they need to improve in the outfield, and whether that's bringing in a George Springer to play center, making some adjustments there. Question mark for Vladdy, is he going to play first or third? Vladdy has been down here in Florida, and he's gotten in great shape. He's lost about 20, 25 pounds since the end of the season, and he wants to get back to playing third. That's still up in the air, obviously. But if that happens, then Rowdy Tellez can play first every day, and you can get his big bat in the lineup. He really had a breakout season last year. And then Vladdy can get back to third, and they can rotate with Hernandez, Tellez, Vladdy in the DH role. So they have to improve the defense. And, of course, there's always that speculation that they're in on Lindor, the shortstop from Cleveland. So that's a good possibility. I think if they acquire another veteran starting pitcher, shore up their bullpen a little bit further, they can contend in 2021.
Wow, how about that? All right, let's start with Pearson. What do you know about him as a starting pitcher? We saw a couple of signs we loved last year. Sort of got derailed a little bit with some elbow issues. Where do we stand with him as far as the new year is concerned?
Chris, I think he's going to be an impact starter. I think what happened when he came to the big leagues, he went away from his strength. His strength is velocity down in the zone, and they tried to get him to pitch up in the zone, and he's not that kind of pitcher. Everybody is into the analytics and the matchups and strengths and everything, but He is much better when he's down in the zone. He's got the ability to throw an easy 100 miles an hour. I like his secondary pitches, but I want him to focus on his strength. I think he's got a chance to be a real solid 2 and maybe even an ace of a pitching staff for the long haul.
Well, I see you like him that much. Do you buy the LeMahieu discussion at all or no?
I don't think so. I think LeMahieu's probably going to go somewhere else, and I don't know that they necessarily need LeMahieu, as good a player as he is. I think they are probably going to focus a little more on the possibility of adding Lindor. A couple of years ago, there was a possible trade Lindor for Vladdy Guerrero before Vladdy had really established himself. And I know Lindor's only got a year on his contract, but the Blue Jays' strength in the minor league system is starting pitching and shortstops. They've got Elvis Martino, Otto Lopez, a couple of young prospects, and they have 5 catchers on their major league roster right now. So there's some depth there as well. I think they have the ability to make a trade with the strength of their minor league pitching prospects, their catching depth, and their shortstop depth in the minor leagues.
By the same token, that's a good one. But if they do make that trade, they're going to have to sign Lindor. You can't make that trade and then only have him for 1 year.
No.
I know they have a lot of money, and I know it's a great, it's good ownership, and they're representing a country, so money should not be an object. I'm not sure if Lindor wants to play there long term, but that would be important to get him signed to an extension. What's the prospects of that?
Yeah, Lindor loves Toronto, and he has talked about that. And his manager, Charlie Montoya, is from Puerto Rico, and I think that's an interesting connection as well. And Lindor comes from Cleveland. Mark Shapiro, Ross Atkins both come from Cleveland. I think there's an attraction of Toronto to Lindor. I think Lindor he appreciates what Toronto can be when they're good. Robbie Alomar played there and had a great run. He too's from Puerto Rico. I think there's some subtle connections that Lindor might really consider for the long haul if he does eventually get traded to Toronto. I think they have a strong possibility of signing him for the long term. He's only 27 years old.
Wow, look at that.
That's the interesting thing.
Right. And last thing, how about a stadium? We're hearing rumblings down the road. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's down the road. I think before the pandemic, Rogers was considering the possibility of developing a new stadium in the very, very near vicinity to where the Rogers Center is. And they can do it. And there's been a couple other ballparks that have done it, where they build a new stadium while the other stadium's still there. I think that's a possibility, but I think that's probably 5-10 years down the road.
Good job there, Buck. Well done. We'll keep in touch. Enjoy your nice weather in Florida. Thanks for a few minutes here today, pal.